This is Eric and I make apps. Now today I want to talk about the differences between software developers and designers. Alright, so I hire a lot of software developers and designers. Sometimes it's on a piece-by-piece basis, so like we'll have a certain project we need a designer for, we need a developer for, or sometimes it's on a more full-time ongoing basis, so just like someone just to generally help out. And every time I hire either a developer or designer, I think in my head, if only I could find someone who could do both the development and the design and be equally good at both of those, right? And those people do exist. I've met them, but it's very, very rare, right? In my experience, there's almost two different ways of thinking. It's like left brain and right brain. Like a developer will, they're able to analyze everything and think everything through and think of through flows, and a designer will be able to take something and not even think about the technology of it and just blue sky it and think of something completely new, right? And it's almost like these two very different personalities. When you bring them together, you really create magic, and it's actually a lot of fun to do when it really works out okay, right? Now, I tend to be harder on our developers than I am on the designers. Like a lot of you guys out there will say, hey Eric, can you give me a job as a developer? And part of me is like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do that to you, because I tend to be a bit nitpicky when it comes to the coders, right? I'm like, oh, we need to have better error handling here, or I don't like the way this is documented, or I don't like the way you've named these variables, all that kind of stuff, because I'm a software developer and I'm really nitpicky about it. And the designers, they pretty much get away scot-free. They have a really easy time. They're showing me things and it's like I'm impressed with everything, right? They'll show me something, I'll be like, ooh, that's really cool, right? And the only thing I can compare it to is like showing magic tricks to kids. If you've ever shown a magic trick to a kid, you're like, they're so easy to impress, it's almost like not fun, right? Years ago, I was working in an investment bank, and I remember it was like some little desktop application. I think it had Microsoft Access as a back end, but I remember I was just like a junior developer just starting out, and I remember I coded something and I was showing them how it worked, and it was like, okay, so you put the data in here and you click save, it gets saved in the database, you go back, you can search on it, whatever, and the business owners were like, ooh, wow. Even though everything I was showing them was like the simplest, most basic thing, it was almost like just out of the box type of stuff, but they were like, ooh, wow. And although I was really impressed with how impressed they were with me, I kind of felt like I was cheating, right? And I think that's what it's like when designers show me things. So when Marvin shows me something, I'm almost always like, wow, that's really cool. And he's probably like, it's probably like, I'll pull this rabbit out of a hat. He's basically, because I don't know design, he's showing a magic trick to a child, and I'm that child, right? Okay, and then I'm going to add a drop shadow. Wow, cool. But that's just the way it is, right? If you're ever thinking about, like, if you're an indie developer and you're thinking you need to start building your team, and you're more of a coder, and you're trying to decide whether or not you want to get a developer or a designer, I think you should get somebody who complements your skills. Like for me, one of the best things I ever did was hiring a designer. Our apps started looking a lot more professional. We started getting a lot more downloads. We started being able to produce a lot more social media. It's whenever we had an idea, we could produce it, and it really helped out, right? Even doing the videos, without a designer to help out with a lot of the graphics, everything would slow down and would look a lot worse, right? Even if we mess up sometimes, we have typos from time to time, having really good design and having things look really slick is very, very important. Now, the reality is I think designers make a lot less money than developers, which is, I guess, not fair, but I think they add a lot more value than they're given credit for. So, but you got good designers and bad designers, but it's something that I'm really glad I did. I'm really glad I hired a designer. It's one of those, it's the team member I know that we must have on the team, right? It's like having, like if we were performing a heist, they would be the safe cracker, right? Like we don't need them all the time, but when we need them, we need to make sure they're sharp, I guess, the analogy, whatever. So let me know what you guys think. Do you agree or disagree? Do you hire a designer? Do you hire a designer for specific projects, like to do an icon, or do you just do everything yourself? Anyway, that is it for today. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.